like to invite the legislators to come to the chambers so that we can begin. How are you, Chris?
I'm here.
Okay.
I don't see Howard.
Call the Rules Committee to order and ask Legislator Bino to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, Mike, could you call the roll, please?
Thank you, Presiding Officer. Rules Committee roll call. Legislator Sela Bino. Legislator Delia DeRiggi-Whitten. Ranking Member Kavan Abrahams.
Here.
Thank you. Legislator Laura Schaefer. Legislator Stephen Rhodes.
Present.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Howard Copel. Howard Copel. Chairman Richard Nicolello.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Right. We are going to do the contracts first and calling the contracts all together and then considering them individually. A1, A7, 2021, resolutions authorizing the Commissioner of Shared Services to award and execute purchase orders between the county and Versig LLC and Rocco Rescue, Inc. A6, a resolution ratifying the Commissioner of Shared Services award and execute a purchase order between the county and Gladiator Forensics LLC. B7, a resolution authorizing the county executive to award and execute a contract between the county and Basilico Civil, Inc. E9, E14, E15, E16, E17, E18, E19, E20, E21, E22, E23, and E24, 2021. These are resolutions authorizing the county executive to execute personal services agreements or amendments to personal services agreements between the county and Capital Resource Management, NV5, New York, Federation of Organizations, U.S. Geological Survey, Rainbow Sound, Ultimate Process Service, Nassau Healthcare Corporation, GILA, LLC, Safe Center, LI, Inc., Lemon Bonoski, Carlton on the Park, and Top Key Court Reporting. Motion by Legislator DeReggie Whitten, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. While we're doing this, I'm going to need a motion to untable E69 of 2020, which is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute personal services agreements or amendments to personal services agreements between the county and Change Healthcare Technology Services. Motion by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator DeReggie Whitten. So they're all before us. First thing I have to do with those before us is now to make a motion, have a motion to table two of the contracts. They are E23, which involves Carlton on the Park, and E21, which involves the Safe Center. The Inspector General has her routine inspection has not been completed yet, so we'll table those for now. But a motion by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. All those in favor of tabling them signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? All right, so those contracts are tabled.
I have him on speaker right now while they're figuring out how he can get back online.
Okay, so that's Legislator Coppell.
Howard?
Yeah,
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Just say that you're here.
I guess
I am here.
I hear him. All right, let's go to the first contract, which will be with the police department. Is A1 with Versig LLC.
Good afternoon, William Field, Deputy Inspector with the Police Department. Item A1, 2021. This is to award and authorize a purchase order between Nassau County and Versig LLC on a network video surveillance system. This would be installed at the Police Department's new training center. The solicitation was advertised in Newsday and posted to the Nassau County Bid Solicitation Board. There were 7 bids received. Versig LLC was selected as the lowest responsible bidder, meeting specifications. The maximum amount authorized under this purchase order shall be $270,800, and it will be paid through asset forfeiture funding.
Okay. Any questions? No. Let's go to the second one, which is A6 of 2021 with Gladiator Forensics.
Item A6-21. This is to award a purchase order between the Police Department and Gladiator Forensics LLC. This is for a cellular tracking surveying system. The Department of Shared Services has determined that this is a sole source procurement. This is the sole vendor who manufactures, sells, and distributes this type of technology exclusively to law enforcement agencies. This enables the department to accurately place suspects at a crime scene, refute false alibis, as well as search for missing evidence. There's no other product equivalent that could meet the county's needs in order to do this type of technical research. The maximum amount under this purchase order would be $183,600, and it will be from asset forfeiture funds.
Why is this specific to the 8th precinct?
It's not. It's actually for the electronics squad. We'll be primarily using it. They're based out of the 8th precinct. That could have been why it says that. But this is a program that would, not a program. This is a software hardware that would be used by our electronics squad.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Nope. All right, let's go to the third one, which is A7.
Item A7-21. This is a purchase order between Nassau County and the ROCO Rescue Incorporated. This solicitation was advertised in Newsday and posted on the solicitation board. The maximum amount under this purchase order is $100,092.53. It is also asset forfeiture funded. The Department of Shared Services recommends an award for ROCO Rescue Equipment as the lowest responsible bidder. This equipment is basically used for some of our high-angle rescues, trench rescues, and situations in which they need ropes and all different types of systems. It also includes some training.
All right, any questions? All right, thank you, Inspector Field. Next contracts are with the Department of Public Works. B7 is with Basilico Civil.
Good afternoon, Ken Arnold, Public Works. B7 is a construction contract for new raw sewage pumps at the Bay Park Sewage Treatment Plant. We have received 7 bids. The lowest responsible bidder dropped out. Basilico was the second lowest bidder at 34% below our estimate, which MWBE for this contract is 12%.
Any questions?
Okay, we just do all my items?
Yep. E14.
E14. E14 is a contract amendment which is retroactive for time and money. It's associated with our Ocean and Merrick road rehabilitation project. This project we had to put the contractor in default, which delayed the project. NV5 is our construction manager, and we're adding additional $276,000 and extending the contract till April of 2022. As a side note, the contractor is now working on that project and will be done by the end of this by this fall.
The original contract was for a little over $500,000, and now has been amended twice and it's over $1.2 million. Is there any potential recovery against the original contractor?
I have to speak with the county attorney. I'm not sure at this point.
All right. I would refer the matter to them and have them
Yes,
evaluate it.
I will speak to them about it.
Okay.
Recovery.
Do we have any other questions on this one? All right, let's go to E16.
So E16 is a contract with the United States Geological Survey. It's for $428,000. They have a couple contracts with us where they do groundwater monitoring throughout the county. This contract is for them to reinstall a monitoring well at the Bay Park sewage plant that was disturbed during the large reconstruction project at Bay Park. We'll be funding this through that same program, getting reimbursement, and this well will be used for all kinds of monitoring, including saltwater intrusion.
Okay. Any questions? Thank you, Ken. Next two with the Treasurer's Office.
Good afternoon. The item before you, E9, is for Capital Resource Management, which is a...
Could you?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sure.
My name is Lisa Anella. I'm the Deputy Treasurer. And the item before you is Capital Resource Management, which is a collection agency that collects money for emergency ambulance billing services. What we're looking to do is extend the contract until April of 2021 to catch up on payments owed to CRM for money already collected by the county.
Is there an RFP in the works for the
There is presently an RFP in process.
Well, April is obviously just around the corner. Do you think you'll have a contract award to present to us by April?
I believe discussions of the policy changes for the RFP are in the works, and the police department might know more regarding that.
Inspector Field, did you want to add anything to, since she just referred to the police department and potential policy changes to this contract, so I don't know. Do you have anything to add?
In regards to Change Healthcare, or?
Actually, we're on capital resource management.
At the present time, we're just looking to, make the payments to catch CRM up for the money that's already been collected.
Deputy County Attorney Jackie Dell. I work with the police department on their contracts. This is sort of related to another item on the agenda for the ambulance billing as a whole.
Do you think we should call?
We could call it together.
All right. Why don't we consider both these contracts together? The other one is E69 of 2021 with Change Healthcare Technologies. We had untabled that before.
William Field, Deputy Inspector with the Police Department. E6920, this is a contract between the county and Change Healthcare Technology Enabled Services. An RFP was issued in February of 2019. An evaluation committee was formed, and between the Emergency Ambulance Bureau and the County Attorney's Office, Change Healthcare was ranked as the highest scoring proposer. Change Healthcare provides employee ambulance billing services. They are able to reach out to our any potential patients and for revenue for their billing. We're going to encumber about $750,000, which is a percentage of the revenues that we return to Change Healthcare in return for the services.
All right. This is the focus of this is recovering from insurance the costs of ambulance services. Correct.
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 And I note that while the contractor sends notices to individuals, that this part of the contract, Change Healthcare, does not actually refer any uncollected monies to collection. Correct? Well, let me revise that. Apparently, there's one exception in which individuals received a check from their insurance company and did not remit it to the county. So in those cases, we will send it for collection purposes, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And that's a policy change, which is why Lisa was referring to. That's going to have to be incorporated into the RFP going forward because it's going to reduce the number of accounts that are forwarded to collections.
Okay. So again, the policy will be that we're focusing on recovering from insurance companies, number one. Number two, letters will be sent to individuals, and there will be no follow-up collection unless the individual received a check from the insurance company and did not remit it to the county.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And that certain individuals below the poverty line, they will be exempt from any sort of collections, correct?
We've created a sliding scale that will be based on their income, and it's a uniform method for us to review the claims and reduce them accordingly.
Okay. Again, I mean, it's always been a concern since I've been here, since this came up years ago, that we understood that the focus would be on recovering from insurance companies, obviously, that they could pay for the services. But it's never been the intent that we would actively, diligently seek to incur collection services to obtain from individuals who are uninsured. It was simply not the focus. It was simply to recover revenue for the county.
Yes, and the recommendations and the modifications that we've made to the program, now the primary focus will be collecting from insurance, and we've created a policy that's what we believe is the most permissive policy for the residents of the county.
Because there's some limitations, correct?
Yes.
Right. Anyone else have any questions on these two contracts, actually? Okay, I think we're good. We have another one with the Treasurer's Office. It's with Gilla LLC.
Yes. The second one, E20, we are requesting 2 one-year extensions. This contract is for collections mandated by state law that we must collect and enforce certain penalties and fines.
Okay.
We are currently in the process of preparing an RFP, and until that's in place, we would like to maintain continuity of services, so we are looking for an extension.
Okay, and this is for recovery of fines with respect to consumer protection laws. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay. Any other questions? Is this for collection of violation of county consumer protection laws or state? Because I heard you say state.
It's state law for code violations, fire code violations, violations that the county is in recipient of these penalty payments.
Okay. All right. Again, anyone have any questions? Thank you. Thank you. Note for the record that Legislator Rhodes is physically here. He was there remotely before. You still only get one vote. The Department of Human Services.
Brian Hall, are you available?
Yes, I am. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. E15, Federation of Organizations.
Yes, this is a new contract with mental health for children's mental health program. It was done through an RFP, and it's 100% reimbursable from New York State.
Okay. Any questions on this one? We'll discuss. Legislator Bino.
Hi, good day. I just have a question to inquire. I'm inquiring what services are going to be delivered using that grant. I know you said mental health, but if you could kind of give us a more granular explanation, that would be helpful.
Well, I know it's they split their services between seniors and this one is for the children's side. Trying to see if I can open it up and see what it looks like. I might have to get back to you with that question.
That's fine.
The program ended.
You can get back to me. Whatever we're doing, I'm sure
It's
helpful, but I just have an interest in this particular initiative. So if you could provide that to me, that would be helpful.
Yeah, sure, I can. It's just, I want to get the right information for you.
I'd appreciate it. Thank you.
Legislator Schaefer.
Hi, how are you, Brian? Can I ask you, is this a new program that the county's now implementing?
I didn't quite get that.
Is this a new program for the county?
Yes.
It is, okay.
Yes. It just started, did the RFP on it, and we're anxious to get it started.
Okay. And how, can you tell me how the department will inform people of the program? Like, how will it be advertised, if you will be?
I don't know if the actual, the Federation is going to be advertising it, or the department. That I'm not 100% sure of either, on how it's going to be out there. They usually put this stuff on their websites so they can see it. I know that. But as far as to any further extent on it, I'm not sure. I'd have to get back to you.
Okay. And I also noticed something in the backup that the vendor has received awards from other municipalities. Do you know which one?
That got it besides us?
Yes.
That I'd have to look at too.
Okay. All right, just be curious to know. Thank you.
Okay.
Are there any other questions? We'll move on to the next one, which is with Parks, E17, Rainbow Sound, Inc.
Good afternoon. Victoria Queso with the Department of Parks. E1721 is a personal services agreement with Rainbow Sound for production, sound engineering, and equipment for concerts and events held at Lakeside Theater for a maximum of up to $25,000 a year. And like the other contracts of this nature, it is a fee for services. So in the unfortunate event that we don't have any events, the county won't owe them anything for their services.
All right, thank you. Any questions, discussion? Nope. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next two with the county attorney, E18, and then E22.
Good afternoon, legislators. Brian Libbert from the County Attorney's Office. E1821 is a contract with Ultimate Process Serving. They do process serving for family court as well as for the vehicle forfeiture program. This is an amendment to a contract that's already existing. If you have any questions, happy to answer the same.
Okay. Legislator Schaefer?
Curious as to why there's an increase. Is it just based on need?
I didn't hear your question, legislator. I apologize.
Oh, that's okay. I'm curious as to why there is an increase. Is it based on need? We have that many more.
Yes, based on need. In other words, the last funding was used up, and we need more funding. I mean, based on need, yes.
Just that. Okay. Is there an increase in more, from year to date? Is there just more process serving going on, or not really in particular, just that you ran out of funding?
I don't know the answer to that question. I would have to get back to you with regard to whether the numbers increased. I know that I presented the process serving contract, specifically this one, a number of times, so it to me is with somewhat regularity. I would have to get back to you on whether the numbers increased or decreased. It's not something I looked into prior to this meeting.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? All right, let's do the contract with Lamb and Bonoski.
The second contract, E2221, is a personal services contract with the law firm of Lamb and Barnowski for the litigation known as Sharp. This contract was led through a mini bid process, and if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer the same. I would just add one thing to make the legislator aware. This contract was started in ECRS about 3 months ago, and we do anticipate routing an additional amendment through to the legislature based on some needs of the litigation. However, at this time, because we don't want any retro and relative to instructions we've received from you, the legislature, we're presenting this contract today with that piece of information being included.
Brian, this is litigation that goes back years, and apparently Lamb and Bonoski is going to be new to this. Why are we hiring them at this point in the litigation? Are they taking the place of another law firm?
Well, the county became conflicted, and Lamb and Barnowski is essentially the lead counsel. So there are several officers on this case, and they are the lead counsel. Okay. And to my understanding, it was being handled in-house up until now. I do not believe it was transferred from one firm to another. I can double check, but I believe it was in-house previously, until the conflict arose.
So the term of services is February 1st, 2020 forward. Have they already been providing services?
Yes.
All right, and that begs the question, why are we getting this in February of 2021?
Legislator, if you could just repeat the initial date to me. I know I actually have the answer. I just want to make sure I answer your question very specifically.
It's according to my backup, contract was to commence on February 1st of 2020.
Right, understood. Okay, so there are a few different pieces to that. First of all, there was, to my understanding, some issue with routing, a technical issue that slowed it down. And then also, we had COVID in between, which I understand, and I'll say on the record as an attorney, is not a bar excuse for everything, but it did slow certain things down. So I think the timing of it is just such. I can say for the record that only about $30,000 of work has been done, which is why we wanted you guys to hear the contract today, rather than having you table it and presenting another amendment again.
All right, well, with respect to the latter excuse, clearly I think we all understand that COVID slowed things down, and that's is a valid excuse, but I'm not sure that it would delay submission to the legislature for a year, during which time the council was working. So again, why did it take a year to get this to us?
Well, I think also it was complicated by the fact that there were multiple law firms involved, and also the budgeting process for this, and getting additionally, the lawsuit was developing at the same time, and as the suit was developing, that would have affected how much we would have routed for.
I mean, none of that makes any sense. I mean, still, it's a year-old contract. They're providing services. It's the county attorney's office, the sophisticated attorneys in the county attorney's office. This is a top-notch law firm. You really haven't given us an excuse. Obviously, over the years, late contracts have been a concern with the legislature, and we would just say to the county attorney's office that going forward, you have to do better. I mean, this is getting a contract to us a year out after $30,000 was spent is not acceptable. Again, this is not an unsophisticated vendor who would have difficulty with a vendor form. This is Lamb & Benoski. They should be able to do this.
And certainly, just to clarify that, I certainly, I don't think I suggested, I don't want to, that there was a slight delay regarding an insurance certificate, but essentially this was administrative process to my understanding.
Anyone else want to have anything? Nope. All right. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good day.
You too. The next contract is with the Office of Management and Budget with the Nassau Healthcare Corporation, E19 of 2021. The minority leader is recusing himself and not participating in any debate, discussion, or vote on this item.
Good afternoon. Chris Nolan from the Office of Management and Budget. This is an amendment to a contract with Nassau Healthcare Corporation. It is the nature of services provided by NHCC are medical services to a variety of different departments along the nature of occupational health and testing services. The amendment is to extend the time frame for an additional 5 years and allow departments that utilize these services to encumber up to an additional $1 million over those 5 years. It is unfortunately delayed. The reason for the delay is that it was difficult to obtain signed copies back from the Healthcare Corporation, as well as we were waiting for additional disclosures from the Healthcare Corporation as well.
All right, I appreciate you bringing that issue up, and I understand that you're dealing with the hospital can be difficult, and there can be delays. So, but I would say the same as I said to Brian a moment ago. We need to move these along quicker to get these contracts to the legislature quicker.
Oh, absolutely, sir. And unfortunately, this is probably a time where COVID did impact sort of the processing. They've been obviously busy with other healthcare issues. Thank you.
Any questions? Nope. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. E24 2021 with Top Key Court Reporting Inc. It's with TIPFA.
Good afternoon. Mr. Chairman and fellow legislators, my name is Kristen Clodfelter. I'm counsel at Traffic and Parking Violation Agency, appearing on item E24-21, which is a final one-year extension of our contract with Top Key Court Reporting. In terms of a brief description of services, there are stenography vendors, so they take minutes of the proceedings that happen in the hearing rooms. We usually run 3 hearing rooms a day, which means 3 judicial hearing officers and 3 court reporters, sometimes 4, currently less due to COVID. This extension would take us to December 31st, and just so that you're aware, the RFP has been drafted, and we're in the process now. We think we're probably going to publish it by end of February or sometime during March.
All right. Thank you. Any questions? No, I think we're good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So all those contracts, let me see, are now ready for a vote. Let me just go over for the record. These contracts include A1, A6, A7, B7, E14, E16, E9, E20, E15, E17, E18, E22, E19, E24, and E69 of 2021. Any further debate or discussion? Very good point. The list I gave should not include E19. We will vote on that separately. Thanks. But all the rest of the contracts I just listed, any debate or discussion? Any public comment? Hearing none. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Oops. Passes unanimously. Now we're going to vote on E19 separately. The minority leader will not be voting on this. That's with Nassau Healthcare Corporation. Any debate or discussion on that item? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Now, before we recess, I neglected to do this earlier. I apologize, but we need to have a moment of silence for a couple of losses in our community. Please rise. We lost Jojo Wright, 15 years old, a Uniondale High School star basketball player, who tragically lost his life on January 27th in a car crash. It's always particularly difficult when you lose a young man like that. He's remembered off the court for his charisma, intelligence, work ethic, and insight. Secondly, Peter Sobel passed away on February 3rd, 2021. He was an Inwood community advocate, former acting director of the Five-Town Community Center, who worked tirelessly to support and enrich the community and was known as the mayor of Inwood and Inwood's first son by locals. So please, let's have a moment of silence. Thank you very much. We're in recess now. Which committee's next?
Public Safety. Public Safety. Pardon? Yeah, we got you have 3 more. Hold on. Okay. Sure.
All right, at this time, I'll call the Public Safety Committee meeting to order. I'll be serving as, I guess, chairperson.
No.
Pro tempore due to Legislator Ford being on remote. But I will call the roll. Legislator Millet?
No. Stephen?
Legislator Drucker is subbing in for me.
I'll ask the clerk to call the roll then. He's got better information than me.
Thank you, Legislator Rhodes. Public Safety Committee roll call. Arnold Drucker. Thank you, Legislator. Legislator Sela Bino. Ranking Member Delia DeRigi-Whitten. Legislator John Ferretti, Jr. Legislator Vincent Muscarella.
Here.
Thank you. Vice Chairman Stephen Rhodes. Chairwoman Denise Ford. Okay, we have a quorum, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Thank you, Mr. Clerk. Outstanding job as always. There is one item on the agenda today, and that is clerk item number 4021, a local law to establish dangerous dog registry and to require certain notice with respect thereto. May I have a motion? Motion by Legislator Ferretti, seconded by Legislator DeRigi-Whitten. That item is before us. This item was introduced by Legislators Ferretti and Walker. Legislator Ferretti is here. Do you wish to speak on the item?
Sure. Thank you, Legislator Rhodes. The purpose of this proposed law, which has been named Benny's Law, is to protect the general public and their pets from dangerous dogs that are housed in their neighborhoods. While most dogs are playful and loving pets, there are dogs with a vicious temperament that have a propensity to attack humans and animals, which could cause serious injury or even death. The proposed local law imposes requirements upon owners of dogs deemed dangerous by a court of competent jurisdiction and the Nassau County Society for the Prevention of Cruelty to Animals, also known as the NCSPCA, and the Nassau County Police Department. The Nassau County Police Department is required to contract with the Nassau County SPCA to create and maintain an online registry listing dogs housed in Nassau County that have been deemed dangerous dogs by a court of competent jurisdiction. The registry must include the following: the judicial order rendering the dangerous dog determination, the address where the dangerous dog is housed, the date of the incident that led to dangerous dog determination, the duration of dangerous dog designation, and the breed, gender, weight, age, and color of the dangerous dog. Also, the Nassau County SPCA must provide the law to the dog's owner and explain its obligations. Not more than 10 days after the Nassau County SPCA explains this proposed local law, the owner of a dangerous dog must mail the judicial order deeming a dog dangerous, as well as a notice stating that a dangerous dog is housed at a specific address, to all neighbors within a 1,000-foot square radius of the owner's home. An affidavit of mailing must be submitted to the Nassau County SPCA for posting onto the website. The Nassau County SPCA must provide the owner with the affidavit and the notice of mailing. Finally, the Nassau County Police Department and Nassau County SPCA enforces this proposed local law. The penalty is not exceeding $500 for the violation and not exceeding $100 for each and every day of the violation. Thank you, Legislator Rhodes.
Thank you, Legislator Ferretti. Outstanding job. Are there any questions, debate, or discussion? Legislator Drucker.
Thank you, Legislator Rhodes. Today, for the first time, I heard about Legislator Ferretti's personal involvement in a situation like this, and I have to tell you, if that happened to me, I'd have to be institutionalized, because there's no greater dog lover than myself. I own 2 dogs. I've had dogs my entire life, and the thought of one of them being attacked just puts me over the edge. But with that being said, I like the law, but I just want to make sure it is clear and unambiguous in all respects. And so I have a couple questions about its interpretation I hope that you can help me with. So what is the actual definition of a threatened attack? In other words, I know what an attack is, I know what a, but what is a threatened attack? It seems to me that term can be vague.
In what context, Legislator Drucker?
Well, it says here that pursuant to the law, a court may judicially determine that a dog is a dangerous dog if it has been involved in an attack or a threatened attack. So I don't know what threatened is. If it doesn't bark in an aggressive way, is that a threatened attack? I mean, I just want to make sure it's clear on that.
Yes. So a dog being deemed dangerous by a court, that's essentially up to a judge. A judge makes that determination as to what constitutes a dangerous dog, whether that be an actual attack or a threatened attack. Obviously, if it's something as something like barking, I would find it hard to believe that a judge would deem a dog dangerous. I mean, deeming a dog dangerous is actually a pretty high threshold. I can give you my own example, which was one dog essentially eating another dog, and it was barely deemed dangerous. So it's a pretty high standard. Honestly, I don't know. In terms of the word threatened, that would be up to a judge, but it's a pretty high standard.
Okay, and I'm assuming that the statute or the law is going to involve or include attacks on people and animals. So if it just attacks another dog, it's considered it could be considered a dangerous animal, or if it attacks a person, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. And also, just going back to the Legislator McKevitt just pointed out, that language was taken out of the state law. That's how it's defined in the state law, is an attack or a threat of an attack. So it was just taken verbatim from there.
Does this law differ from any other existing statutes regarding dangerous dogs? Do you know?
Well, in terms of differ, I would say yes. This is really about putting the community on notice when an attack like this happens. Again, just going to my own personal experience, the event was traumatizing not only to myself, but to my kids and my mother, who was also involved in it. But what was the scariest part were the days after, when the dog was returned to the house. And we're talking about a community with 60 by 100 lots. It was a pretty tight community, and I was watching other people walking their dogs, walking their children, walking their strollers right past this house, knowing that this vicious animal was put back in that house, and I just couldn't stop thinking about the idea of nobody knows this happened. I mean, nobody knows that there's a dangerous animal, literally deemed dangerous. An animal that, if it is now allowed outside the house, has to be muzzled. Yet if this dog escapes like it did the day of my incident, if it gets out accidentally like it did the day of my incident, people have no idea. They have no idea. And you know what? Maybe if somebody wants to walk their dog, they'll take a different route. Or if they want to walk their newborn in a stroller, they'll take a different route. So I felt this was, I don't know, there's nothing that I'm aware of that we reviewed that has a notice requirement like this, that would put the community on notice that this dangerous animal is there.
Right.
So to answer your question, I know it's kind of a long answer, but no.
Okay. No, again, I think it's a good law, and I certainly support it. I just want to make sure that there's no room for, like, for example, if you have a neighbor who has a dispute with another neighbor, and I'm gonna report your dog and start a whole investigation here just because the neighbors are fighting, and it's not necessarily a vicious dog or a dangerous dog. I don't want to see that happen either.
Yeah, and absolutely. And so that thought also came into my mind. There's no Legislator Walker. I worked with her on this as well. We had played with the idea of a bite registry, and I think that would be more susceptible to what you are referring to, which is two dogs either playing and it gets out of hand, or one dog bites another dog, the other dog bites back, and it becomes, well, whose dog bit first? This is a very high threshold for a dog to be deemed dangerous, and I came to learn this. There has to be police involvement, an attack, a judge. It's a judicial decision, and it's a very high standard, and it's certainly, this can't be, in my opinion, based on the way it's written, it can't be utilized in a situation like you're referring, because it's a valid concern, and it's a concern that we had as we were drafting this. We certainly don't want this to be where, two dogs are playing, one dog gets out of hand, and all of a sudden you got to do a mailing to, people in your community. That's not the intent, and I think obviously there's always room for changes or improvement, but I think it's covered in here because a dog like that would never be deemed dangerous.
No, I think it's good, and I think the operative thing here is a judicial determination. So once a judicial determination is made, this law now provides the neighbors with ample notice so that they can adjust their patterns or routines in a certain way. So thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Drucker. Are there any further questions, debate, or discussion? Legislator Bynum.
Thank you, Legislator Rhodes. I'm going to, I guess, address the question to Legislator Ferretti. I also own a dog, and would have a 6-pound Chiweenie, and I would have been devastated to have been involved in such an incident. So I like what you're doing. I've also been bit by a dog when I was a child, and so when I think back on that incident when I was a young child and got bit by this dog, a neighbor's dog, I'm not sure that anyone was even contacted. Like, as a child, I don't remember. Maybe it happened. But my question is, when people go to the hospital because they've been bitten by a dog, is there a mechanism where the hospital then is required to notify the Animal Protection Agency so that they could even be engaged in a court system?
No. The answer to that is no. This is when a report is made by the complainant to whether it be the police department or the SPCA. Now, when you call the police department, they contact the SPCA. So generally in an attack, like for example the one I was involved in, I mean it was more, I'm not diminishing your I'm sure it was very traumatizing when you were bit and everything, but this was like a scene. This was like a vicious kind of 8-minute long disaster. So the police were called. It was kind of a big thing, and then obviously they called the SPCA, they called the town, the animal control, and all that. So it automatically triggered that. The answer is no. The hospital under this law is not obligated to call every time there's a dog bite. But again, I would go back to Legislator Drucker's concern of, this is a pretty severe requirement for people to have to do this mailing, to be penalized $500 and then $100 every day thereafter. And so the threshold is very high. It's where the court gets involved and determines that this animal is dangerous. And I don't know that depending on a lot comes into play in making that determination. Obviously, I'm not a judge, but from what I saw, the circumstances are taken on a case-by-case basis. Not every single time there's a dog bite will a dog be deemed dangerous.
And I understand that, and so the incident that I'm referring to, when I was bitten, it wasn't what what happened with you, right? It wasn't this mauling for 8 minutes, but it wasn't a nip either. I mean, I had a significant part of my back bitten out by this dog, and I had to go to the hospital. My parents put me in the car and just drove me there. And that dog, I never remember that dog going anywhere or anything being done with the dog. But I know that they checked to make sure he had his rabies shots. My parents did that. But beyond that, what I'm getting at is that if some people are getting, like I know my goddaughter was bitten by a dog that lived down the street from her, and this happened like last year. I'm not sure. The point I'm making is I almost would like to see the hospitals be required to report dog bites so that we're not missing anyone, right? Because I'm sure the dangerous dog situation doesn't just get triggered by an 8-minute mauling. I suspect it's because of a repeat. It could also be because they have bitten somebody more than once. So I almost would like to see the veterinarians and the hospitals be required to engage the animal protection entities so that we are capturing all of the information in our county regarding dangerous dogs.
I think I understand your point. Obviously, I get it. I mean, when you do go to a hospital, though, of course, as the victim, you have the opportunity to call the police department. Not
everybody, depending on, the situation, not everybody knows what they could do or what they should do. And sometimes there's some, I guess sometimes people want to protect, you know, even if it's their own dog or, you know, they could bit them or bit their other dog. You know, I think there's sometimes a level of protection that one might give a neighbor or their own dog. I'm just throwing it out there because I just don't feel like we might be capturing all of the dangerous dogs that are out there because these reports, there's no mandated reporting. So I'm just putting that out there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Bino. Are there further questions, comments? Legislator Ridgey-Whitten.
I also think it's a good law, and I agree that, you know, it's hard to think, but we really should also, I would hope we could extend it to children also, because God forbid a child was a victim of that type of situation that you experienced. But do you have any idea how we're going to be funding this as far as the follow-up on the county part?
So it's the Nassau County SPCA that's going to be doing the follow-up, and they're going to be ensuring that that it's you know, adhered to.
Okay, and they have enough in their budget to be able to take this on? You've spoken with them?
Yes, we've been in constant contact as recently as today with Gary Rogers, who was very helpful in drafting this, and he's completely on board with it, and he said that that's absolutely not a problem.
So just so I know, just for now.
We can just hold up for 1 second. We
lost connection.
Yeah, we lost the connection with those that are on remotely, so. Kevin, we're good to go? All right, looks like we're all back. Legislator Ridgey-Whitten, please continue.
Thank you. So if this were to happen today, would there be any type of follow-up with the neighbors, or there's really nothing in place at all to warn them of a vicious dog?
Nothing at all.
That's interesting. All right. Okay.
In Suffolk there is. In Suffolk they have a bite registry, I believe. It's not a dangerous dog registry. They have a bite registry. But no, okay. Nothing. In matter of fact, you know, the attack in my case happened around 5 o'clock. It was actually on election day, 2019. But it happened around 5 o'clock, and some neighbors came out to help, you know, try to stop it, unsuccessfully. But still, the rest of the block, other than the two neighbors that came out to help, had no idea whatsoever the next day. I told them, but for that, they would have had no idea. And around the block, like people around the block who walk past our house every day, still don't know. I don't know them.
No, I think I also had a small, I think he was 16 pounds, who probably would have been on this registry. He was the toughest dog in the neighborhood, but he used to start fights with dogs, and it was terrible. But anyway, I think it's a great, I think it's making me miss him, but I think it's a great law, and thank God every time that happened, he was on a leash, and I was able to pull him off the big dogs, but
yeah.
I could see it really being traumatizing.
Yeah, thank you. And just another point, because I was thinking about some of Legislator Bino's comments, which I think are it's really good input. Had the dog, during this attack, bit a human, he would have not have been allowed to return.
Right, that's what I heard.
The dog, which we came to learn, had a history of being trained from birth to be a fighting dog. Apparently, when you train a dog in that, unfortunately this happens, they get trained to fight. They're trained specifically not to bite humans, because humans have to be in the fighting ring with them. So if a dog is going to bite a human, they're useless. So this dog was trained not to bite humans, but to attack other animals. And that's why the dog is allowed back. Had the dog, and I almost wish it would have bit me, because, I got to live across the street from this animal with a 3-year-old and an 8-year-old, and you got to think about it every time they go outside to play. So in this instance, because it didn't bite a human, is the only reason it was allowed to return. So, for example, in Legislator Bino's case, if that happened today, it wouldn't be allowed to return, if it was, assuming it was reported, which I know was your point. Whereas in this case, we're stuck with it there.
And Legislator Bino and I wanted to ask, I hope your little guy is okay. Is he all right now? Or?
The dog?
Yes.
Full recovery physically. Thank you for asking. Full recovery physically. He had 6 broken ribs, punctured lungs. Amazing. He was 2 years old at the time of the attack, and that's the only reason he survived, because he was at the peak of health for an animal. Amazing that he survived. It's really a miracle. Mentally, he's a different dog than he was before the incident. We can't really let him outside in fear that there's another dog that he'll see. He can only go in the backyard now. But physically, he made a full recovery. So thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Durgee Whitten. Are there any other questions, comments from the legislators? Seeing none, do we have any public comment that's been received on this item? Okay, no public comment. Therefore, all those in favor of clerk item 4121, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. I'm sorry, item 4021. All those in favor of item 4021, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. The item is agreed to and is referred to rules. That concludes the items that we have on the main calendar. There is, however, an addendum. I'll need to entertain a motion to suspend the rules to consider those items. Motion by legislator. I don't know who that was. Motion by Legislator Ford, seconded by Legislator Ferretti. Those in favor of suspending the rules, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. The rules are suspended. There are 7 items on the addendum today. Clerk items 41-21 through 45-21, item 47-21, and item 5321. First, we'll deal with item 4121, which is an ordinance supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the medical examiner's office. I have a motion. Motion by Legislator Ferretti.
Seconded.
And seconded by Legislator Muscarella. And that item is now before us. Do we have someone from the administration to speak on this item?
Yes, hi, this is Tim Hahn from Medical Examiner's Office.
How are you, Mr. Hahn?
Good. This is supplemental appropriation. It's a pass-through federal grant through Department of Criminal Justice Services. It's the Paul Coverdell grant. It's in the amount of $51,490. It's used to enhance the effectiveness and efficiency and quality of testing for the forensic toxicology lab of the Medical Examiner's Office.
Thank you, Mr. Hahn. Do we have any questions, debate, or discussion from the legislators? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on this item? There being none, we can move to a vote. All those in favor of item 4121, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. That item is agreed to and referred to Finance. Next, we have items 42-21, 43-21, and 44-21, who are all ordinances supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Traffic Safety Board. We have a motion. Motion by Legislator Bino and seconded by Legislator Drucker. That item is now before us, and we have with us one of the great county employees who is sadly leaving the county, I understand shortly, much to my dismay. Chris Mistron, who has been so tremendously helpful, I'm sure, and I believe I speak on behalf of all of the legislators, who has been so tremendously helpful to us, who has served the people of Nassau County with such tremendous dedication. And I want, on behalf of all of us, to congratulate you on a well-deserved retirement. And we hope that this will not be the last time that we see you we hope that you'll stay in touch. But Chris, congratulations and thank you very much. Chris, the floor is yours.
The first time that I came before Nassau County government was 33 years ago, and at that time it was the Board of Supervisors. So I've been here a little bit for a while. This will be my last time to be before the committees. I will be back for the full ledge, and then I will be calling it a career. The first item, 4221, is in reference to the Stop DWI program. The amount of $1.22 million is a program that is submitted to the state for an approval in terms of the spending. It is fully funded through Stop DWI funds and not any county funds. These funds are dedicated and must only be used for DWI purposes. In this program, we fund the police department as well as several village police departments to do the enforcement. We fund probation to follow those that have been convicted. We fund the District Attorney's Office for the purposes of prosecution, as well as several contracts for education and public information. Do you want me to go to 43 or you?
Sure.
Okay, 43 is our handicapped parking surcharge grant. What happens with that particular one, fine money that is collected for the offense of parking in handicapped spots is dedicated to be split between traffic safety and the agency for the handicapped that are physically challenged. The money in our particular case is used for specific educational purposes, as well as we use it for the special programs within the Child Safety Seat program, where we provide services for physically challenged children and their families on securing the special needs type seats, as well as the proper installation and use of those seats. Number 44 is a special grant that we receive through the Governor's Traffic Safety Committee, funneled through the Stop DWI Foundation, and it's a grant for special holiday enforcement DWI. Specifically, it's a money that's split between our police department and I believe 6 additional villages. And this is money that is used, we use it for 3 specific holidays: Memorial Day, July 4th, and Labor Day. And it's to provide for, again, special DWI enforcement. And it is in addition to the DWI money that's provided to those different agencies.
Thank you, Mr. Mistron. I don't know if I mentioned this before, and I apologize if I didn't. Legislator Ford has joined us remotely. She was present for the vote on the last several items. I believe I neglected to mention that, but if the clerk could reflect that in the record, I would appreciate it. And thank you, Mr. Mistron, for your presentation. Are there any questions, debate, or discussion from the legislators with respect to these 3 items? Seeing none, do we have any public? Oh, I'm sorry. Legislator Muscarelli, you have your virtual hand up.
No, it needs not be up. It was on the another bill, and I had my questions answered, so I apologize.
Thank you. Legislator Ridgey-Whitten.
Chris, I just want to ask how this works. I know a lot of the funds that come in are kind of anticipated. So do you wait and see what you get in before you promise the different entities, or how does that work?
I'll give you this year as an example. Normally, we average over $1 million in collected fines. We did not reach that due to everything that's been going on. So I did notify the agencies of the shortfall, as well as the police departments, and we did take necessary cuts to the distribution. So even though we may promise a certain amount, I've looked at my job as coordinator to protect the funds. We do have a surplus. And that surplus by state law is allowed to be used to fund your current year. I just felt that in this past year was so out of the ordinary to utilize the surplus and spend money on things that were not accomplished would not be wise. So I did not choose to go into the surplus. Rather, what we did was we went to the DA, probation, and the police and said that we were going to cut about a quarter off of the adjusted budget, and as a result, we did not go into deficit. So it is unanticipated monies to be received, but it's also with the knowledge that we do have a surplus that can fund any normal type of shortfall. We've never had to hit the surplus over the past years, but I could guarantee that that will be occurring over the next years as a result of success in that we are not making as many DWI arrests. So really, a lot of the budget is anticipating the delay in the prosecutions. So basically it takes a number of years before fine money would be collected anyway. So when I put together this year's budget, it was with the anticipation that we will be back to normal, and if we do have to hit the surplus, it'll be a minimal transfer. So again, I look at it that the job and the role of the DWI coordinator is to protect the funds for ordinary anticipation.
Thank you. That was my question. If you anticipate the upcoming year to be a little bit more in line, well, we don't know yet, but okay. It's good that you have it worked out that way. Thank you.
Thank you, Legislator Durigi-Witten. Do we have any further questions, debate, or discussion? Seeing none, do we have any public comment on these items? There is none. All those in favor of items 42, 43, and 44 of 21, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. It is unanimous, and those items are referred to Finance. Next, we move on to items 45 of 21 and 47 of 21. Those are both ordinances supplemental to the annual appropriation ordinance in connection with the Police Department. I ask for a motion. A motion by Legislator Motion by Legislator Ford, seconded by Legislator Durigi-Witten. Those items are now before us. And do we have someone here from the Police Department?
Good afternoon. William Field, Deputy Inspector with the Police Department.
Thank you, Deputy Inspector. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Item 45-21 is a supplemental appropriation for $117,900 in funds received from the New York State Division of Criminal Justice. This will procure the police department with 8 new live scan fingerprint machines. They will also be in compliance with DCJS requirements. There will be a match which we've allocated with capital funding.
And you can do 47?
Item 47-20. This is a supplemental appropriation for $250,875. Funds received from the United States Department of Homeland Security. The funding will support the police department's purchase of new equipment. It's 2 additional boat engines, handheld sonar for the Marine Bureau, drone detection equipment for our Aviation Bureau, as well as a new safety vest for our pilots. There is a match which will be covered by asset forfeiture funds.
Thank you, Deputy Inspector. Do we have any questions, debate, or discussion from the legislators? Seeing none, do we have any public comment? There is none. All those in favor of items 45 of 21 and 47-21, please signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed say nay. It is passed unanimously and is referred to Finance. We move on to, thank you, Deputy Inspector. We move on to item 53-21, which is a resolution to adopt the Nassau County Fire Service Mutual Aid Plan. We have a motion. A motion by Legislator Ferretti, seconded by Legislator Drucker. That item is now before us. And do we have someone here from the administration?
Oh. Good afternoon. Scott Tusa, Chief Fire Marshal, Nassau County.
Hello, Scott.
Good afternoon, Presiding Officer Nicolello, Minority Leader Abrahams, and the members of the legislature. You have before you a document that's titled the Nassau County Fire Service Mutual Aid Plan. I have 2 staff members with me who were instrumental in developing this document. Assistant Chief Fire Marshal Mike Utaro, and Division Supervisor Kevin Lang. I'm sure if there are any questions between the three of us, we can answer any of them. All 71 of Nassau County's fire departments and all 6 of their ambulance corps have all signed off an agreement with this document. This document is to lend assistance across their jurisdictional boundaries from department to department. Also, a county fire mutual aid plan is required under New York State General Municipal Law.
Thank you, Scott. Do we have any questions, debate, or discussion from the legislators? Seeing none, do we have any public comment? There being none, all those in favor of clerk item 53-21, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. It is agreed to unanimously and is referred to finance. There being no further business before the committee, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. That motion is made by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Ferretti. All those in favor of adjourning, please signify so by saying aye. Those opposed say nay. We stand adjourned. I believe planning is next.
Planning is next. Thank you.
At this time, I'd like to call the Planning, Development, and Environment Committee to order, and I will ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Chairwoman. Planning, Development, and Environmental Committee roll call. Legislator Carrier Solage.
Here. Here.
Thank you. Legislator Sela Bino. Ranking Member Arnold Drucker. Legislator Denise Ford.
Here.
Legislator Stephen Rhodes. Vice Chairman Thomas McKevitt. Thank you. Chairwoman Laura Schaefer.
Here.
We have a quorum, ma'am.
Thank you. Okay, so this is an addendum. We only have one item on the agenda, but it's an addendum, so can I have a motion to suspend the rules? Moved by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator Drucker. All in favor signify by saying aye. Okay. Rules are suspended. Okay, so this is clerk item 24-21. And it's a resolution to authorize the release of the surety bond and escrow deposit covering improvements on the map of Cornerstone Properties condominiums at Rose Place, situated in the hamlet of Newcastle, town of North Hempstead, county of Nassau, state of New York. May I have a motion? So moved by Legislator McKevitt, seconded by Legislator Bino. Okay. This item is before us. Is there anyone here? Oh, hi.
Sean Sally, Deputy Commissioner, Nassau County Department of Public Works. This is an application for a bond and escrow release in conjunction with the map of Cornerstone Properties condominiums at Rose Place. The subdivision bond and escrow covers the public improvements as part of this 11 townhouse unit subdivision. The public improvements have been completed in satisfactory manner as reviewed and opined by the Nassau County Planning Commission construction inspector. The Nassau County Planning Commission reviewed the matter and recommended to the legislature that the bond and escrow be released at a public hearing on November 19th, 2020.
Thank you, Mr. Sally. Okay, is there any debate or discussion? Legislator Bino.
Good afternoon, Mrs. Sally.
Good afternoon.
Can you tell me what were the improvements that were required as a part of this surety bond?
Certainly. So the sort of everything outside of the building lots, so the road, the curbing, the asphalt, sewer mains, stormwater drainage infrastructure, so piping, dry wells, any signs, street signs, any other sort of public infrastructure within the right-of-way is bonded by the county and inspected by the county.
Okay.
Even if it is ultimately going to be dedicated to, in this case, North Hempstead or otherwise, it's still bonded and inspected by the county.
Yes, I actually been through one of these over in the Lakeview part of my district, West Hempstead, and we ran into problems there. So I just wanted to make sure, because I think at some point they couldn't deed the deeding back over to the town.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make sure that the town will have control of this roadway, and they'll now be responsible for removing the snow, correct? And
Yes.
sanding and cleaning the streets, correct?
Actually, the way this is configured is it's just south of Prospect.
Yeah, I know where it is. They actually cut a street
Yes.
to be able to develop that condominium.
Right, so they demapped a public street, and it is now a private tax lot. So that road is private and part of the condominium association.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So they're going to have to remove the snow there.
The association, yes.
Okay, very good. All right, thank you very much.
Certainly.
Is there any other debate or discussion by any of the legislators? Any public comment on this item? Okay, there being none, all those in favor of passing item 24-21, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That item passes unanimously. Okay, there's no other business before this committee. Can I have a motion to adjourn? So moved by Legislator McKevitt, seconded by Legislator Bino. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the committee is now adjourned. Thank you. Finance Committee is next.
All right, if everyone is here for finance, because both Mr. Capel and Muscarella are here remotely, I'll be doing the physically running of the committee today. I'm going to ask for the clerk to please call the roll.
Thank you, Legislator McKevitt. Finance Committee roll call. Legislator Joshua Lafazan. Legislator Lafazan. Legislator Arnold Drucker. Ranking Member Ellen Birnbaum.
Here.
Legislator Rosemarie Walker. Legislator Thomas McKevitt.
Here.
Vice Chairman Vincent Muscarella.
Here.
Chairman Howard Copel.
Here.
We have a quorum, sir.
Okay, if we hear from Mr. Lavasan, we'll include him in at a later point, I suppose. We have one item on the regular agenda. It's clerk item 30-21. It's a resolution providing for the issuance of a warrant directing the county treasurer to pay to the supervisors of the several towns and to the treasurers of the several villages and cities within the county of Nassau the sums as apportioned by the Nassau County Legislature based on a report filed by the county treasurer and the county clerk showing deposits for mortgage taxes for the period of 1 year commencing October 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020 pursuant to the County Government Law of Nassau County and the Nassau County Administrative Code. Do I have a motion? So moved by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Drucker. Do we have any debate in this matter? Any public comment? All those in favor by saying yes?
Yes.
All opposed? The matter passes unanimously. We do have an addenda to today's items, and actually includes a number of items which have already been through the Public Safety Committee for both Medical Examiner, Traffic Safety Board, and the Police Department. Would there be any objection to do these all in consent? Hearing none. We will then call these 10 items. They are now numbers 41 through -21 through 47-21, and just to actually brief what they are, item 41-21 is with the medical examiner, 42, 43, 44 are with the Traffic Safety Board, and 45 and 47, all of 2021, are from the Nassau County Police Department. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Drucker. All in favor, say by saying aye. All opposed, nay. The items are passed unanimously. Before we move on to the other item, I just want to mention to Mr. Mistron, who you and I have gone back many, many years, back in my time as a Nassau County, as a New York State Assemblyman. We've done many car seat safety checks together. It got to the point that people would only do them if car seat Chris were being in attendance. So, again, I just want to personally thank you for your service to the county. Wish you and your family all the best during your retirement. Again, thank you once again. Okay, yes. And just one other item I neglected to do, the motion to suspend the rules for the addendum we've done today. Moved by Ms. Walker, seconded by Mr. Drucker. All in favor by saying aye. All opposed, nay. All right, so the moving to suspend the rules has been accomplished. We now move on to a couple other matters. We have actually local... Ms. Birnbaum? Mr. Lavizan, are you back with us? I'm listening.
We give them.
All right. We now move on to item 46-21, a local law postponing the date of the 2021 sale of tax liens pursuant to Article 2 of Title B of Chapter 5 of the Nassau County Administrative Code. Do I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Walker, second by Mr. Drucker. Is there anyone here to speak on this item? If not, is there any debate or discussion? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. All opposed say no. The item passes unanimously. We're now going to go on to item 50-21, a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a grant agreement between the County of Nassau, acting on behalf of the Department of Parks, Recreations, and Museums, and Sid Jacobson, ICC. Is there a motion, please? So moved by Ms. Walker, second by Mr. Drucker. Is there anyone here for the administration to speak on the item? Katie, do we have anyone on this, or?
Tori?
Does Ms. Queso have to unmute her mic, I believe?
It says that she just got dropped out of teen, so I will do my best.
I can't wait.
Clerk item 50 of 21 is a $20,000 grant from the Hotel Motel Tax Program to the Sid Jacobson Jewish Community Center. They'll use the funds for renovations to the auditorium. Upgrades to the physical space will provide SJJCC with a state-of-the-art auditorium, helping to bring high-quality cultural programs to the North Shore of Long Island.
Any questions?
Please, no.
Any debate? Any public comment? All in favor,
What
proceed by
can I
saying
say?
aye. All opposed, nay. It passes unanimously.
Here we go.
Excellent job, Ms. Royce. I appreciate it.
Wait, is he still doing business?
Yes, we are.
Okay, now we hear you.
Okay, I apologize for that. We actually were doing the addendum items.
Hi, Legislator McKevin. I apologize. I was on mute when the roll call happened. Thank you.
Unless there's any objection, we'll have you both counted as voting aye on all the items up to this point.
Yeah.
Okay? They have been so recorded in the affirmative. You have perfect attendance. All right, we're now going to go on to two items, which is going to be 51 of 21 and 52-21. And they are both dealing with a Third Amendment and a Fourth Amendment to...
Wait, excuse me. We didn't hear 4621 at all.
Okay. 46-21 was a local law postponing the date of the 2021 sale of tax liens pursuant to Article 2 of Title B of Chapter 5 of the Nassau County Administrative Code. This is due to the situation with COVID. We are actually postponing the date of the annual sale of the Nassau County tax liens. So if you want, I will...
Legislative?
Yes.
This is Beaumont Jefferson, County Treasurer. I didn't hear the vote on that, or if anyone testified on.
It's interesting because we did ask for someone to testify. We heard no one testify either way, so that's what we did. So what I think we shall do is, if I have a motion from Ms. Walker and a motion from Mr. Drucker, I think we'll withdraw our previous vote in the matter, so we can therefore hit their item again, so we can hear the testimony and make sure all our legislators can testify. So all in favor of doing that, please say aye. All opposed, say nay. Okay, so once again, we will reconsider 46-21 local law. Motion by Mr. Drucker, seconded by Ms. Walker. And at this time, I'm going to ask Mr. Jefferson if you have any testimony on behalf of this item.
Yes, this item is a postponement of the 2021 tax lien sale. This tax lien sale is scheduled for February 16th, and that's the sale of the 2019 and 2020 school taxes and the 2020 general taxes. The 2019 and 2020 school taxes were payable without penalty November 10th of 2019 and May 10th of 2020. Due to the pandemic, the second half of the school tax was extended to July 1st, and the 2% simple interest for April and May were waived. Also, the 1% compounded interest for June was also waived. The 2020 general taxes were payable without penalty on February 10th and August 10th of 2020. We are requesting this postponement of the sale in order to satisfy the governor's order of the COVID Emergency Eviction Foreclosure Prevention Act, which requires us to mail notice to Class 1 and 2 property owners. By postponing the sale, in summary, will ensure that everyone has sufficient time to complete if they request a hardship, they would have enough time to request that hardship. And it will also satisfy that provision. If you indeed ask for a hardship, the county cannot sell your lien until May 1st. So it will, by postponing it, it will accomplish not selling any liens, and also until that time, which would make sure that anyone who has a hardship would be able to take advantage of the extension.
Are there any questions for Mr. Jefferson? Any other debate or discussion among the legislators? Any public comment? All right. All in favor, please signify by stating aye. All opposed, say nay.
Aye.
All right, this item, once again, passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Jefferson. All right, now we'll go on to items 51 of 21 and 52 of 21. They both relate to executing a third and fourth amendment to a amended and restated Coliseum lease between the County of Nassau as landlord and Nassau Event Center as tenant of premises located in Uniondale, Town of Hempstead, County of Nassau, State of New York, known as 44, Block F, lots 351 and 415 on the land and tax map of Nassau County, and authorizing the county executive to execute all pertinent documents in connection therewith. May I have a motion? Ms. Walker, second by Mr. Drucker. The items before us, and do we have someone before the administration to speak on these amendment items?
How about that? Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members. It's Evelyn Simmons, Deputy County Executive for Economic Development. I have with me Dan Grippo, Chief of the Municipal Transactions Bureau of the County Attorney's Office, as well as Josh Meyer, our outside counsel from West Law Group. I hope you can indulge me in a few minutes of a presentation if you'll find it helpful to discuss the two items and how they're connected together, if that's all right. I know this is also going to be considered by rules, but it'll take me about 5 minutes.
Yes, please do.
Okay, thank you. Very much appreciate it. Again, 5121 and 5221. There's two proposals, and I just want to give you some context that brings us here today. The Nassau Coliseum is an iconic county venue, and the plans to redevelop the acreage around it remain at the heart of the county executive's economic development plans. The success of this effort, which we've undertaken in cooperation with this legislature, is more important than ever as we look to advance our county's economic well-being post-COVID. As you know, the governor shut down all non-essential businesses, including the Coliseum, back in March. In June, the county's Coliseum tenant, Onexum NEC, announced that it would no longer operate the building or be involved in the hub redevelopment project. The county executive promptly took steps to address the realities of NEC's departure while preserving the progress we've made together for a vitalized hub. Due to our efforts, we have a new tenant, Nassau Live, which is maintaining and operating the Coliseum. And importantly, we've welcomed the Islanders back to the barn for one more season. At the same time, developer RXR remains committed to our 2019 development plan agreement, meeting important milestones over the past 2 years. These include helping the county secure state funding for structured parking garages, which we all know are so key to getting development off the ground, and also filing important documents with the town of Hempstead. The RXR team has worked diligently with the Community Benefits Advisory Committee, on which two of our members here today, Chairman McKevitt and Sila Bino, participate in, and we appreciate your hard work and those of the community members. However, despite this progress and the fact that Nassau Live has stepped in and stepped up to running the building, the pandemic and the departure of NEC has impacted the hub project timeline. And so while we remain committed to reopening the Coliseum fully to even more events and audiences, state restrictions remain on arena activities. And we must also take the time to think about the new UBS arena and what it means for our plans at the hub. So just 1 minute, I'm going to go through the agreements that got us here today, right? Because it's sort of a long story, and we just want to spend 2 minutes explaining it. In 2013, the county granted NEC a long-term lease, which has considerable time left on it, for the Coliseum. It included provisions relating to the future development rights of the hub site, Section 54, financing of the Coliseum renovations, and standard leasehold lender protections. That was in Schedule J. In 2015, the parties agreed and the legislature approved a restated Coliseum lease which allowed the tenant to secure financing from an EB-5 Visa program lender, as opposed to a more traditional bank. That same year, 2015, NET and NEC did in fact obtain such financing from Nassau Coliseum Funding 100 to support building renovations. In 2019, the county adopted, with legislative approval, the Hub Redevelopment Plan. It also designated Nassau Hub Developer, a joint venture of the tenant, NEC, and RXR, to pursue redevelopment of the hub site. That document set project milestones, including an important first outside date for completion of certain project documents. That was January 7th, 2021, just a few weeks ago. That brings us to March of 2020, closure of the building, NEC's subsequent lights out, we're out of here announcement, and a default that they made on their $100 million loan that they took from Nassau Coliseum Funding 100. NEC had also defaulted on its lease to the county to the tune of $2.2 million behind on rent and utilities. So, negotiations ensued. There was a settlement in lieu of foreclosure between NEC and the lender, and in August of last year, on August 20th, the leasehold lender that we've described, Nassau Coliseum Funding 100, cured NEC's rent default. Their designee, Nassau Live Center, stepped into the shoes of NEC as Coliseum tenant by operation of the lease under Schedule J that I referenced earlier. And then Nassau Live took on all aspects of the Coliseum lease as well as the borrower obligations under the EB-5 loan. The administration ensured that as part of that settlement, Nassau Live took assignment of very important contracts that had been held by NEC, including with an arena operator ASM, the New York Islanders, and the Long Island Nets. These steps avoided foreclosure, protracted litigation, time, and expense, and paved the way for the Islanders to return last month. Nassau Live also agreed to develop a plan for sustained Coliseum operations and partner with RXR on the hub site. To provide further stability to the situation during this ongoing pandemic, the county granted 2 standstill letters for periods that are currently set to expire on March 1st. One standstill was to Nassau Live, during which time we will not find them in default for non-payment of the minimum annual rent in the lease of $4 million a year. And the second standstill letter to RXR, during which we won't take any action in connection with them missing a certain project deadline I mentioned before of January 7th of 2021. So now, in the midst of an ongoing pandemic, which has clearly taken a serious toll on the building because it's only open right now, right, for the Islanders to skate with no fans. With almost a year with the building not being able to be open. We're asking the legislature to provide greater certainty to the tenant and the developer in the form of adjustments to the lease and the development plan agreement. 5121, which is before you, is a third amendment to the amended and restated Coliseum lease. It grants the tenant temporary rent relief during a COVID relief period, during which there will be no payment of that annual minimum rent that I mentioned, $4 million a year. Percentage rent and utilities remain payable to the county. The period extends until 6 months after the New York pause restrictions are fully lifted on Coliseum operations so that there are no restrictions on occupancy, with an outside date of 31/22. During this relief period, Nassau Live must comply with all the obligations of the lease, other than the payment of that minimum rent, including the payment of utilities, keeping the Coliseum in good repair, maintaining the contractual obligations I referenced earlier with ASM and the Islanders, and work diligently on the long-term plan for the building and the hub. Any longer-term lease modifications would be brought back to the legislature. The amendment also includes an important indemnification to the county by the EB-5 lender in connection with any claims from their investors to the county. Item 5221 is a fourth amendment to the amended and restated Coliseum lease, introducing a first amendment to the development plan agreement of 2019 as Exhibit A. This document extends the first outside date for the completion of certain hub agreements until the later of July 7th, 2021, or the end of the COVID relief period I mentioned earlier. It also replaces NEC as RXR's development partner with Nassau Live developer. That is a designee, an affiliate of the lender, and provides for a future substitution with an affiliate of the leasehold lender as approved by the legislature. So together, these items give Nassau Live and RXR appropriate and necessary interim relief during this historic pandemic. A little breathing room, if you will, so they can continue to work collaboratively on plans for the building as an integral part of an activated hub site. The proposed amendments also provide more certainty for the county that parties will uphold their aspects of this bargain. And I assure you that Nassau Live and RXR are actively engaged in this effort, building upon the work of the last 2 years in creating an exciting new entertainment district at the hub with the Coliseum at center stage. Together we can ensure the hub becomes a key economic driver for this county, take the next step in healthcare innovation, and create a place where people can gather work, and live in a post-COVID world as we've always envisioned. We're happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Simmons, I just have a couple of questions. I'll open up to the rest of the members of the committee for what other questions they may have as well. So just in summary, generally under the Coliseum lease, there's a $4 million annual rent,
Correct.
and that's being waived at this time because the exact reason is you can't have the normal events happening at the Coliseum as you ordinarily would, whether it's shows, Disney on Ice, things like that. So that's part of the base behind that.
Exactly. There's no audiences right now. The building is open to host the Islanders, but there's no any ability to make any revenues, truthfully. But if they do, the county gets a share of the revenues.
And I'm just going to get into it. My understanding is a certain percentage of the revenue the county will get, as well as a certain percentage of parking revenue that comes in.
Correct.
So you can just please describe what those percentages will be if there is, once again, operations and audiences at the Coliseum.
8% for the activities and 12.25 on the parking.
The parking, okay.
Okay.
And to date, there has been no receipts from those because there's been, again, no audiences in the Coliseum at this point, correct?
Well, that's correct, except there have been activities at the Coliseum. I think some legislators called curious about some cars parked in the lots, and so the lots are actually part of the, included in the lease. So there may be revenues that we may see at some point.
My understanding is also that in order to just keep that building essentially functioning, though empty, there's a significant amount of utilities which must be continued paid. I'm assuming there'd be electricity and heating costs.
Exactly.
So who's been paying those costs during this time when essentially NEC walked away from the property?
The new tenant actually cured the prior utility debt that was owed as of August 20th, and they've continued to pay utilities on time since that time. And the total budget on that is close to $2 million a year. So it's a significant expense, as you said, legislator. That would be borne by the county if we did not have a tenant in place.
And my next question is, does the tenant pay those amounts to the county and the county pay it to the utilities, or does that money go directly from the tenant to the utilities?
Josh, I know you know this well, the energy contract. Come on.
Good afternoon, Legislator. Josh Meyer, West Group Law.
Yes.
81 Main Street, Suite 510, White Plains, New York. So actually, the county fronts that money and pays the utility bills first, and then the tenant pays the county back.
And are they completely paid up as of this date?
That's my understanding. That for the amounts due and that they've been invoiced for. That's correct.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I have. I notice Mr. Drucker has his hand up, and then after Mr. Drucker, I'll have everyone get their attention, their questions as well. But Mr. Drucker, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Legislator McKevitt. Good afternoon, Ms. Simmons.
Hi, how are you?
How are you? Were you a party or during the negotiations? Were you present during the negotiations for this agreement?
In terms of what the county sought, you mean in terms of the certificate of estoppel, and we were not present between agreements, between discussions between NEC's new tenant, I should say.
I'm not hearing you so well.
I'm sorry. We were not present in terms of the negotiations over the settlement in lieu of foreclosure that I referenced. The county was, however, involved in discussions about the acceptance of that settlement. And I can have maybe Dan Beppo wants to come and speak to this. Exactly, sort of how that worked.
I'm just curious if, hypothetically speaking, if the county took a hardline approach in the negotiations by not agreeing to such a long, drawn-out suspension of the obligations to pay rent, how do you think it would have played out?
Oh, I'm sorry. I misunderstood you. I thought you meant the initial negotiations back in August of 2020.
No.
That got us the new tenant, Nassau
I'm talking
Live.
about the new agreement that the...
Oh, no, yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, I don't think a hard line necessarily in this is the way to go. We feel very strongly that the county is in a much better position with a tenant who has a vested interest in the building and in the hub redevelopment project to be engaged with us in a positive discussion about the future in the midst of a historic pandemic. We think that having them have to agree to certain provisions, like having contracts to open the building, even if they don't make very much money doing so, with no fans and no audiences in the building so that the Islanders can play, maintaining utilities, and all of these obligations that they've taken on, including the obligations to that $100 million loan that I referenced. These are no small matters. So we feel that it's actually a very good deal for the county, and that it's completely fair and reasonable, and that all the parties involved are getting something out of it, which is what you do when you negotiate.
Right. I just think that we had more leverage in this situation because the new tenant, who was the mortgagee here, stood to lose $100 million, correct, from the defaulting
But I
party.
think if you play that scenario out, legislator, you know, Nexum NEC was leaving, right? They defaulted on the loan to this lender. You know, it would have been a very messy situation, I think. Litigation, possible bankruptcy by Onexum, possibly to avoid paying what they owed, delay, and I really don't believe we would be where we are today with the building open and the Islanders playing. And, you know, that is important to this county, that this building be taken care of, that it be positioned for the future. And I think we've accomplished that. I don't think, I'm not really even sure, there would clearly have been litigation had we tried to stop the agreement that we were able to, you know, secure. So I don't think it's a pretty picture.
So the suspension of the obligation to pay rent continues until either the New York pause restrictions are fully lifted or no later than December 31st of 2022. What happens as we now gradually open up and the New York pause restrictions are not fully lifted but slowly lifting?
Yeah, so I think it's interesting, right? That it seems to be that's when we may head, but we really don't know. There's considerable uncertainty around that. The governor has signaled that he's looking for ways to set guidance around opening venues, weddings, starting to get people out and about and together. And what does that look like, and how long will it take? But it's very heavily reliant on a plan about testing and vaccinations and sort of when will it be safe to do that again. And I think in this time frame, if the building is to be open, say at 50% occupancy, 25% occupancy, the county would take a share of the revenues in that scenario.
Is that indicated in the agreement?
Yes, because we continue, only the minimum rent is lifted from the equation. The rest remains intact. So you have to realize, though, that's not necessarily a winning proposition either. The IDA recently did a study of this, and you know, all the arenas and concert venues around the country are sort of in a stall period, in a pause period. It's not just about New York State lifting. The whole industry has to get kicked back up again so that groups tour. Disney on Ice, they're not going to come just to the Nassau Coliseum, right? They need to be able to tour around the country and have a viable industry, whether it's concerts, family entertainment. You know, the Long Island Nets, who you typically play in the building, are playing in a bubble in Orlando this season. The Riptide lacrosse team played in this building in the past, had planned to play again starting in April of this year. Yesterday announced that they can't play until fall at best. So while I understand it seems like a long time, we think it very much reflects reality. We're optimistic it's sooner. That's all I can say.
Do you know if the current tenant, Nassau Live Center, has applied for or received any of the PPP money?
It's a good question, legislator. I don't know the answer. I thought of it yesterday. I don't know, because I think in that case it's usually to help with payroll. We're not discussing a lot of payroll here, so I'm not sure. We can find out.
Yeah, because the PPP also covers rent.
Some expenses, yeah, so we can find that out.
So if they're entitled to or getting any relief in that regard, then we should be getting paid, right?
I don't know if that would be, if a loan would be considered part of the revenue. I'm not sure. And Josh is, council saying no.
The PPP money is to cover expenses, which includes rent. So if they get money that can be earmarked for some portion of the rent, I just think that the county should get some of that.
Take that under advisement. I mean, our position is that they have considerable expenses just to keep the building running, and that we think that's the most critically important aspect. I understand, you know, there's some maintenance needs that the building had over the last few months. They've taken care of all of that. So again, we think it's a good deal in terms of where we are.
Thank you.
Thank you, legislator.
Ms. Walker?
my question was asked and answered. And let's hope that, that New York Pause gets lifted in its entirety very, very soon.
Thank you.
And I do have to say, it's nice to see Josh. We got to spend a lot of time with him for felt like a long time. We haven't seen you in a while, so it's great to see you, Josh.
He's been a tremendous help on this project. His wise counsel is very much appreciated.
Thank you.
Let me first turn to my colleagues who are remote. Mr. Capella, Mr. Muscarello, do you have any questions? Ms. Birnbaum, Ms. Lavisan, do you have any questions? Or can at least people let me know if you can still hear me, because I don't want to pass this by if you have questions.
I hear you, and I read through everything, and I think that I don't have any additional questions. Thank you.
Okay. Second call for Mr. Lavisan. Mr. Yes?
No, I have no questions also. I'm sorry.
All right. Mr. Capel, Mr. Lavisan, you all good? One last time.
I'm good. I'm good as well.
Okay. All right, based upon this, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, please say nay. All right, item passes unanimously. Before we take a motion to adjourn, Ms. Walker has something to say.
Yes, I too would just like to thank Mr. Mistron for all he's done for so many of us and for so many families in the county, making sure that our children and our grandchildren are safe in their car seats. And you've always done a great job. On a personal note, when I could not get that bigger seat that had a face rear, to the rear, and I was struggling with it for my grandchildren, I actually met Mr. Mistron outside of a basketball game in one of the church parking lots on a weekend, and he installed that seat in my car. So my grandchild was safe the next morning. So I cannot thank you enough for all you've done, but like I said, not just for all of us running those car safety seat installation checks, but always being there for us. And thank you so very much, and we wish you the very, very best of luck in your retirement, and enjoy.
We have motion to adjourn. Made by Ms. Walker, second by Mr. Drucker. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. All opposed, say nay. Passes unanimously. We are now on to the Rules Committee.
Gotta call you back on the session. Yeah, but yeah, that is the nomination. Yeah, I don't know. I will. Kevin, no sound. Kevin, do you hear me? There's no sound here.
Howard, I think they're muting us during recess.
Oh, okay. Now I heard you, yeah.
I'd like to call the Legislature's Rules Committee back into order. The first order of business is a motion to suspend the rules. Moved by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator DeRiggi Whitten. All in favor of suspending the rules signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, so we have a number of items that went through other committees before. It's been agreed that these items do not have to be deliberated upon by the Rules Committee at this time. They will be before the Legislature on February 22nd. So there'll be no further debate or discussion, but I'm going to call them as part of the consent calendar. Item 30, 2021. 40 of 2021. 30, 2021, 40 of 2021, 24, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, 50, 51, 52, 53 of 2021. Motion by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, they carry unanimously. All right, so the other items that we have left are non-consent items. Number 25, 2021, is a resolution to confirm the county executive's appointment of Jerry Schoen to the Sewer and Stormwater Finance Authority on the recommendation of Controller Jack Schneerman, moved by Legislator DeRiggi Whitten, seconded by Legislator Rhodes. Any debate or discussion on this item? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. Item 29 of 21. It's a local law to amend the county government law of Nassau County in relation to the establishment of an independently elected assessor. Moved by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Legislator Rhodes, did you want to say a thing or two about this?
I would love to. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. We are visiting again the issue of an elected assessor in Nassau County. And to provide some historical background, Nassau County always had an elected assessor from 1938 up until the time when the Swazi administration elected to put a referendum on the ballot to change that position to be an appointed county assessor. That experiment has been tried, and if this reassessment process that we've just gone through with respect to the 2020-2021 roll has demonstrated anything, it has demonstrated that that experiment is a failure in terms of transparency and in terms of effectiveness and efficiency in operating that office. The issue was raised not whether we would return to an elected assessor last year. The issue was raised whether or not we would have a referendum to give voters the opportunity to decide for themselves how they would like their government to be run. No one here at the legislature is telling the voters what they should or shouldn't do. We're not seeking to impose a system on them. We're seeking to have a referendum where the public has the opportunity to vote whether or not they want their assessor, who obviously, in light of a reassessment that has increased the taxes, the property taxes, general and school, on 2 out of every 3 homeowners in Nassau County, whether they want to have an active role in choosing who their assessor is going to be at the ballot box, instead of having the assessor be someone who works and answers to only the county executive. When we take a look at the assessment process that we've just gone through, and really the sort of nightmare is continuing. You know, initially we had, back in 2018, the decision to drop the level of assessment. We had, which the county executive promised on behalf of the assessor, would not be done. Yet, 5 months after that promise was made, it was. We had a strategic communications plan that was put together by the assessor, where the assessor agreed that they were going to conduct over 30 public meetings to explain to the public exactly how assessment was going to be conducted, exactly how the impact exactly how their reassessment was going to be calculated, the home values were going to be calculated, how the assessment process was going to be completed, and what steps they could take to protect themselves if homeowners felt they had been wronged during the assessment process. Out of those 30-plus meetings in the Strategic Communications Plan, and when I say scheduled meetings, dates, times, locations where these meetings were to take place, and again, this is back in 2018 before COVID, not a single one of those meetings actually occurred. We had tax impact notices that the Department of Assessment was forced by this legislature to send out. Those tax impact notices turned out to contain oftentimes erroneous information and were sent out in an untimely fashion, which left homeowners without vital information they needed to be able to understand exactly how the assessment was going to affect their overall property taxes. The fact that the impact notices were sent out late also deprived homeowners the opportunity to be able to meet with the Department of Assessment before that tentative roll went final and the grievance process began to correct obvious errors. That forced individuals into the grievance process to correct simple mistakes that the Department of Assessment made, which would have been easily correctable without them having to go through the legal proceeding that is the grievance process. Even after the grievance process started, we had complaints of no one answering the telephones in the Department of Assessment. I cannot tell you how many residents contacted me in frustration not being able to get an explanation of a process that they did not understand or a calculation that they did not understand from the Department of Assessment. Residents actually had to sue County Executive Laura Kern and the Department of Assessment and the assessor in order to receive the formula that was used by the Department of Assessment in order to calculate their home value. How is that transparency? And even today, and I know I'm leaving out a couple of examples I could cite in the interest of time, but even today, with tax bills already out for the 2020-2021 roll, the first under the county executive's reassessment, we are still finding errors in how this was conducted. Errors that's, it appears, at least with respect to the error that we discovered last week with seniors and veterans and clergy, was known by the Department of Assessment, but it wasn't until we actually had a hearing that those mistakes came to light and that corrective action was forced to be taken. Back in December, we discovered another $2.7 million error that was with respect to the Seasons of Seaford and another property in Port Washington. Last week, there was another press conference where it was disclosed that there was a potential additional $13.7 million error affecting over 300,000 Nassau County homeowners that we are going to have to delve into to one, confirm, and two, to take corrective action. That's over $22 potential million in errors that taxpayers of Nassau County, thanks to the county guarantee, are going to have to pay in order to reimburse homeowners who are overcharged for their taxes. So we were promised an assessment that was going to be fair, that was going to be open, that was going to be transparent. And that is not what we have received by any stretch of the imagination. In fact, it appears as though once the determination was made to change the level of assessment and bypass the real property tax law caps on assessment at 6% per year and 20% over a 5-year period of time, the reassessment that was conducted by the administration and by the appointed assessor was focused on how to keep information from the public as opposed to how to make it as transparent and understandable for the public as possible. It's in that context that we advanced this legislation today to again call for a public referendum, not to have an elected county assessor, but call to have a referendum to allow the public to decide whether or not they want to have an elected or appointed assessor. Again, This government belongs to the people of Nassau County, and the people of Nassau County need to have and should have a voice in how this government is run. And we have seen that having an appointed assessor, while at the time may have seemed to be a good idea back in 2007, 2008, 2003, I think it was, that it was actually first on the ballot. Clearly, that issue needs to be revisited, and this piece of legislation seeks to give residents back their voice in making the decision for themselves whether they want to have an elected or appointed assessor going forward. So I would urge my colleagues to give residents back their choice over how their government is run, and put on November's ballot the opportunity for the public to decide whether or not they want to move back to an elected assessor. Giving people a voice helps no one or harms no one when it comes to government. It helps no one other than the public by giving them the opportunity to choose how their government is run. So I would urge my colleagues to support this measure.
Okay. Any other debate or discussion on the item? Hearing none. Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying...
Actually, could I just add one thing? I apologize. Sorry about that. Because I do just want to mention this too. At the time, this was first proposed, it passed the legislature and was vetoed by the county executive. And it was vetoed by the county executive because she said that she was concerned that if the public voted for an elected assessor, that we might have an assessor who did not possess the necessary qualifications to serve as assessor. Question the decision of the voting public. Well, it just so happens that our assessor recently accepted an assignment elsewhere in the administration. And the assessor the prospective assessor whose nomination has been advanced by the county executive is exactly what she feared the public would do. Someone who does not possess the necessary qualifications for the office. And so if that was going to be the excuse for why the people of Nassau County couldn't have a voice in deciding who is going to be their assessor, that excuse is no longer valid. Give the people a choice. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Any other legislators? No. All right, so let's vote on this. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed?
Nay.
Okay, so pass. Any abstentions? All right, so it passes by a vote of 4-3. Item 31 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute a public services agreement, benefit agreement with the North Merrick Public Library. Legislator Rhodes makes that motion, seconded by Legislator DeRidge Whitten. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. 33, a resolution consenting to the set-aside by the rector, wardens, and vestry of the Grace Episcopal Church, a.k.a. Grace Episcopal Church, of certain land for cemetery purposes. Moved by Legislator Schaefer, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. 34 is a resolution consenting to the acquisition and use by the Nassau Knolls Cemetery Association, Inc. of certain land for cemetery purposes. Moved by Legislator DeRidge Whitten, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. 38 of 2021 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the Village of Lawrence in relation to a project to procure a fire engine pumper and related items for the village. This is moved by Legislator Deputy Presiding Officer Coppell, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed? Carries unanimously. All right, now the items on the addendum. Just have 3 items on the addendum. 48, 2021. A resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the Seaford Union Free School District in relation to a project for the renovation of baseball fields, paving, installation of dugouts, and upgrading of the snack shack. Moved by Legislator Rhodes, seconded by Legislator Schaefer. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Carries unanimously. 49 is a resolution authorizing the county executive to execute an intermunicipal agreement with the Incorporated Village of Floral Park in relation to the purchase of taser equipment and related items. I'll make that motion, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. 54, a resolution to ceremonially designate a portion of the county road known as Uniondale Avenue from the intersection of Henry Street to the intersection of Hempstead Boulevard to be known as Jojo Wright Way, and directing the Department of Public Works to install conspicuous signage along said roadway. Moved by Minority Leader Abrahams, seconded by Legislator Bino. Any debate or discussion on this item? Any public comment? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, carries unanimously. And that concludes the business. Motion to adjourn by Legislator Bino, seconded by Legislator Rhodes. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye. Those opposed, we're adjourned.